When Crossroads moved to this location from downtown Toronto in 1992, David Maines often referred to our strategic location in Burlington as Spaghetti Junction. We are sitting at a crossroads of three major highways. We've also become a crossroads when it comes to global missions. For over a quarter of a century, God's missionaries have visited our television studios, either coming or going, and it has been our joy to showcase their various outreaches all over the world. Moses and Betty Vegh were born in Hungary, but they met and married in Windsor, Ontario. They live now in Southern California, but it's hard to find them there. They are ambassadors of hope, equipping and encouraging leaders and planting churches in Europe, China, Africa, India, Asia, Latin America, and some Islamic nations. Their son Marcus, who died in October 2007 with cancer, began to weep and pray for the lost when he was just a little boy. His forte was media, his mission, reaching illiterate peoples of the world. Moses and Betty were here with us very recently and brought a thrilling global missions perspective. I didn't know that so many people groups either don't read or don't even have a written language. There's nothing to write down. You can't prepare a gospel for them in their language because they don't have one that's in print.
The amazing thing was that God spoke to Marcus's heart about these people, and he was blessed to be in a fellowship of strategic leaders of missions around the world. Some of the world's greatest missionary minds met together, and Marcus inspired them, really challenged them, and said, look, what are we doing for these people who don't have a language? So he done 3 years of intensive research and found out that there was at least 639 people groups that he targeted, and that's over 500 million people in many different countries who did not have a written language. So what they did, they sat down around the table, 12 men, and they told the Bible story and recorded it from Genesis to Revelation in story format. And it's amazing, over 400 stories that they recorded and about 48 hours of audio that they put together, which is now being translated into many, many languages. And it's all digital, so we can send it into China, for example, without any problem. And they're reproducing it there by the thousands.
One of the first missionaries I interviewed 20 years ago on 100 Huntley Street returned this month. Allan McGuirl is director of Galcom International. Tim Whitehead is associate director after 10 years serving with us here at Crossroads. Tim grew up hearing Allan's fascinating stories of God using solar-powered, fixed-tuned radios to communicate the gospel. Stories Allan would tell when he visited their church. Stories like these.
By the year 2008, 55,000 radios have been distributed throughout Colombia by land, air, and water. In the majestic backdrop of Colombia's finest coffee-growing mountains, a woman receives a radio. Her life is changed by what she hears. She begins to invite her friends to listen. These people now gather weekly to hear the word, pray, and seek God.
Wow, two very diverse groups of people, both being impacted by the truth of Scripture via a radio.
That's right. That's
wonderful. Right. Some of those are literally dropped by parachute.
One area in the jungle areas, over 35,000 guerrillas from both sides, military, one area region alone, have now come to know Jesus Christ. They're part of God's kingdom. And that's what TV is about, that's what radio about, to get the message out, where Jesus' message is being heralded to those who need to hear about Christ. And God is transforming Colombia, and we're excited. Even the president of Colombia has one of these little two-band radios. One frequency is for doing evangelism. When they come to know the Lord, they press the other frequency, and that gives them discipleship, teaching, and growing.
Last month, we had a 5-day missions emphasis to raise funds for Northern Uganda, concluding on our Friday Full Circle program with Dave Shelley joining us on the couch. He's the Director of Missions for Crossroads. Let's revisit July 10th.
This week, we've been bringing you stories from Northern Uganda, a country torn apart by war, but coming back to life. Crossroads Missions and our partners on the ground have been part of this process, and today, reporter Denise Lottie brings us the final installment of the series.
So far, Crossroads donors have helped create food and water security for families, as well as much-needed counseling and post-trauma help for the vulnerable. But it's still just a drop in the bucket compared to the overwhelming needs out there. That's why Shelley says it's important to have good partners on the ground, people who are trustworthy and accountable.
We understand the viewers get fatigued at looking at the bad images, but we want them to know that, listen, there's been great results working with families. Families are now sending their kids to school. The wells we have done, the few we have done, you know what, it's clean drinking water. When I go to see them, there's all sorts of happy kids and families around, and it makes a difference, makes a huge difference.
Crossroads staff was able to make a difference too, raising $2,841, enough for a well and a hut. The well being refurbished will touch the lives of probably 2,000 people. Alice Achan sends thanks to all our partners who chipped in. She's putting plans together to build the first 100 homes and mobilizing the youth to help start the agricultural program. Pastor Charles O'Queer has identified an additional 100 families to be given a hand up with land plowed by Canadian tractors and tools and seeds supplied to equip families to become self-sustaining. 5 wells will be repaired in September. Thousands of people are being blessed by your generosity. This is media at its best, reaching a needy world for such a time as this. As you stand with us, you are impacting people's lives now and eternally. Thank you.